Hello, welcome to Somerset News Network. I'm quite astonished how tyranny in this country can take hold in a couple of months after the election of July. Starmer's in power. They're a socialist, Marxist government. Doesn't seem that they want to be working for the people. They've got outside interests. They lie about their jobs. They have freebies. Not good. They're using the power of other acts of parliament and perverting the course of justice, in my view, against the people. You've only got to put a comment that somebody doesn't like on Facebook, or make a video like I'm doing now, and you can have a policeman in your job because somebody complained. That makes the police judge, jury, and if they give you a caution, an executioner as well. It's not the way things are supposed to work. Look what happened to me last November. I think if I'd made that comment after July, I'd be doing 2 years inside for telling the truth. This happened in Germany. I did German history and World War II when I was at school, and we learned about Hitler's brown shirts and what they were up to. Yeah, they were having a go at the Jewish people and Jewish businesses and smashing glasses and writing and daubing them, but they were also having a go at the disabled and the gypsies and the communists. And later on they ended up putting them in concentration camps. We haven't got that far yet, and we've got to try and stop it before we get there. We've got to get back to good old proper British values of right and justice. As you know, I've done videos on old acts of parliament. There's an old act of parliament that says by due process of law, which everybody quotes but nobody knows where it comes from. The Act of Settlement of 1700 states the laws of England are the birthright of the people. Add to this the Bill of Rights, which I keep talking about, the right of free speech and debate, which we have in law. There was pamphlets and meetings in London, and the government didn't like what they were saying because the people were against the government at the time. This is the late 1800s. So they created Hyde Park Corner for free speech. That was to take the criticism away from the government to Hyde Park, to put it into one place. That restricted free speech. That wasn't allowing free speech, which is what we're told when we're at school. It put it into one area. It's like when you go to demos and things, they have press areas and you're not allowed to go anywhere else. Well, that's restriction of the press. We have to get back to good old-fashioned British values, rights and customs and liberties. It's ever so important that you understand what our rights and liberties are. We have the right of free speech, full stop. The police are supposed to know the law well. Yet when I was talking to the copper that was trying to arrest me for making a Facebook comment, that's all it was, one-line comment, disagreeing with somebody. Because they were offended, that was now a non-crime hate incident. What the hell is that? Now, if I'm being offensive and I'm being rude and I'm harassing somebody, yes, that's fair enough. But to have a point of view that was a fact that I pointed out, That is wrong. It's not the police's job to decide if somebody is doing a non-crime hate incident. It's a civil matter, not a criminal matter. If I'm being defamatory, then it's a civil matter. They can take me to court. If I'm libeling anybody, they can take me to court. But my comment was factual and true. It wasn't aimed at anybody. But because somebody didn't like what I said, they said they were offended. And what you've got action groups that have now linked themselves to the police and the government, who have persuaded them that their way of life is offended and they're being persecuted. And to shut the people down, like me, who speak their mind, and who say a spade's a spade, because that's what it is, they want to shut us down. Because they want their way of thinking to be the dominant one. Now, you had the Southport riots after the 3 girls were killed. And there was rumours going around the internet about the killer, alleged killer, believe it or not, was linked to Islam. People said that on Facebook and on Twitter, and they're now doing time in jail. Well, we now find out that that's true. Well, why haven't they been pardoned? Why aren't they outside? One got 9 months, one got 2 years. I was looking at 2 years inside for just my simple little comment. This is how it started in Germany in the 1920s. In the 1920s, they were free. They call it the Roaring Twenties. You had prohibition in America, and they had speakeasies, and they were drinking gin out of teacups. You had the Charleston. You had the Cancan in France and the Moulin Rouge. But you also had a culture, a sexual sort of revolution of homosexuality. Now the brown shirts, the sort of hinch mob of Adolf Hitler, were a lot of homosexuals. There was a lot in there. Now, is that what we're seeing today? Is that this social group is now controlling the police and the government against ordinary people that question what's going on? Now, what we've got to do is we've got to get back to the idea that we have the right of free speech and debate by law. Like I said, the laws of England are the birthright of the people. It's in an Act of Parliament. Also, an old Act says, we shall not deny or defer justice or right. That's what we're going to get back to. The police are being used as a Gestapo jackboot police force to police ordinary people like me that have just got a point of view. I don't hate anybody. My thoughts, my idea, is to protect children. I was a youth worker for 10 years. I had 3 young stepchildren. I've got grandchildren now. All I want to do is to protect children. And that could land me in jail. Where are the rights, the liberties that I thought I had? This Labour government is heading to be a dictatorship. like Germany in the 1920s. We have to stop it. We have to tell the truth. We have to speak out. It's like the old saying goes, they came for one section of community and I said nothing because I wasn't part of it. They came for another section of the community and I didn't say anything. But then they came for me and there was no one to speak for me. That's where we are now. I'm trying to speak out as much as I can. There's lots that I can say, but I don't want a policeman at my door again. You can fill in the spaces yourself. There's talk on the internet that, no, I can't say it. I don't want to be in jail for telling the truth. Let me put it this way. Did Starmer know the alleged killer's family at Stockport? That's all I'm saying. You know, not allowed to talk. Newspapers aren't allowed to talk about it. Nigel Farage is not allowed to talk about it in Parliament. That's supposed to be the pinnacle of free speech and debate is Parliament. You've got two different sides and they have a debate and decide things. But the speakers told them they're not allowed to talk about it. That's destroying our freedom of free speech. An MP's got free speech because of the Bill of Rights. The newspapers have free speech because of the Bill of Rights. That's why when you ever go to a newspaper for what they've said and they say freedom of the press, that's why it goes to the High Court. Lower courts can't decide on it. So what they've done now is they're perverting the courts of justice by perverting what the acts were designed for. You've got malicious communication and hate crime. And that's what they're using. Well, if you're making a statement, if you've got a point of view, then that's free speech. And that only ought to be questioned in the law lords, which are now the High Court. Same as newspapers. But they're not. They're going to county court. And because they think that a jury will side with the person who's making a statement, they do it as a tribunal under a judge. And the judge then makes the judgment, sitting as a magistrate. That's not right. That's restricting our rights. The right to a fair trial. That's in another Act of Parliament. The right to a fair trial. And I don't think any of these trials have been free. One trial they wanted to put in information and the judge wouldn't allow it. You know, how can this be in this country? You know, we've got the mother of all parliaments in the House of Commons, House of Lords and the Crown, the King. We've got the court system that was run on Acts of Parliament, which Parliament passes, and they're being perverted by pressure groups. And because nobody wants to stand up and say, that's wrong, you can't do that, it's allowing it to happen. And that is putting people in danger. For instance, safe places for ladies. Now, I don't want my wife or my two stepdaughters to go into a loo and find a man in a dress. It's just a safe space and that's it. There should be no argument. Oh, it's against his human rights. Bugger his human rights. Let's do what's right. They've got drag queens going into schools. Why? To pervert the kids' minds into a sexual orientation. That's what it's for. You know, we've got to understand what's happening. The same things were happening in Germany in the 1920s. Like I said, the brown shirts, a lot of them were homosexual. But Hitler didn't want them. Once he got the power, you had the night of the long knives. And he went in and killed a whole lot of the management. Now, what will happen here if Starmer and his crowd actually take hold? What will happen to all these pressure groups? Will they end up like the night of the long knives? Because we didn't stand up for our rights and our freedoms and our liberties. It's that simple. Rights, freedoms and liberties. We have to stand up and be counted. We have to say what is wrong. Now, I can't say half the things I want to say because I'll get a policeman at my door again. I'll be carted off in handcuffs. It just ain't right. And we need to get back to good old standard British principles. I may be repeating myself here, but you've got to understand we need rights, freedoms of the individual. It's what we stand for in this country. We're now standing for the rights of the pressure groups, of the minority pressure groups. That's the main thing. They only make up 0.5% of the community, yet they control everything. We need to redress the balance. Anyway, sorry, it's been a long one. I've been thinking about this for 3 or 4 days and what to say and how to say it and what I can't say. And you all know that. You all know what's wrong. So, firstly, we've got to help the farmers. And we've got to stand up for our rights and freedoms. Anyway, Ian, Somerset News Work. I've talked for long enough. I'll be back again. There'll be something else to talk about. Bye-bye.